Would you argue with a potato? Of course not. That would be silly, and you don't have time for nonsense. The ego is a potato, a very angry, scared little potato, and it is the only thing that doesn't want you to receive your manifestations, and here's why. Your ego's purpose is to keep your body alive. That's why it exists. Its job is to remember every single awful thing that ever happened to your body and to be terrified of anything it hasn't experienced yet because it wants your body to stay alive. You are not your ego. You are the consciousness that observes the ego, which means you have the power to take your attention off of the ego and place it on your desires. And wherever you place your attention is what you're going to see show up in your daily life, because you are the conscious observer, and where your attention goes, energy flows. If you keep your attention on the ego, it will remain strong and drive in the train. If you take your attention off the ego and place it on the desires that you're manifesting into your reality, you're going to see those desires come through much quicker. And remember, the ego is slick because it fears that if you take your attention off of it, you'll die. That's what it's scared of. The ego is afraid that if it's starved of your attention, it will cease to exist. And if it doesn't exist, then you must not exist. But we know that's not true. We know that consciousness continues to exist. You are consciousness, not the ego. We know that from the pinky example. If something happens to the body and a piece of the body, like a pinky, is lost, your consciousness is not lost. Your consciousness remains unharmed. You are perfect right now in this moment because your consciousness is perfect. You are a perfect observer of your reality. The ego is so terrified of your power, it will do whatever it can to keep your attention on it and away from your power. The ego is the only resistance that comes up when you are manifesting things. Now let's start to identify how that might look in day-to-day life. The ego often tries to keep your attention by bombarding you with negative thoughts or just negative self-talk, memories from the past. Any type of negative thoughts it can bring up and throw at you, it's going to try and throw at you. Here is the beautiful part of this. You don't have to fight your ego. You don't have to control it. You don't have to battle it. In fact, I don't recommend it because that actually gives it more attention and more power than it deserves. The only thing you need to do is notice when it's being the ego. You only have to notice it. And that automatically puts you in the power seat of being the observer, and it takes the power away from the ego. This is why for so many centuries, the wise ones have been trying to teach us mindfulness and just be and just know. There's a reason for that, because when you can pull an Uno reverse on the ego and notice it instead of it bringing into your awareness every bad thing that's ever happened, you take your power back and it comes back quick. We already talked about how you are not your body. You are your consciousness that is inhabiting your body to be able to explore this earth life system. With that in mind, the body is a manifestation of the ego. Now, one way that we can learn to identify the ego is pay better attention to our bodies so that we learn to separate our consciousness from the body. We learn that our consciousness is inhabiting a vessel. That's it. We take care of our vessel, but you are not your vessel. In fact, your consciousness is infinite and can perceive much more than just your vessel. You may have had experiences where you get a text or a call and you know who it is before you even pick up the phone or look at the phone. That's perceiving energy outside of your physical vessel because your eyes haven't looked at the phone yet. Your consciousness can perceive outside more than your physical vessel. Here's how we can notice that. And I'm talking from, I've been meditating for over a decade, thousands of hours under my belt. I'm going to save you the boredom and the time. Here's what we're going to do to help empower our manifestations. Once a day for 5 minutes, just a couple minutes. Sit somewhere or lay down, and you're going to imagine your consciousness as a little pinprick of light. Beautiful, bright starlight somewhere in your body. Mine is somewhere, I guess, around my pineal gland. That's where I pretend my consciousness lives. When I'm in meditation, you turn on your consciousness light, or you become aware of it, and then you are going to send it to different points in your body. You're going to do a body scan. There's a reason for this that helps manifestation, you guys. If you notice a physical sensation, I want you to send that pinpoint of consciousness to where that physical sensation is in your body and try to locate the exact cells that that sensation is coming from. Something interesting is going to happen. There will be times where when you do that, the physical sensation disappears. There will be times. I'm not saying all the time, okay? But there will be times. And that is how that exercise helps us come to learn that we are the conscious observer. And by observing the ego, it often quiets and just calms itself down and takes a step back. It doesn't want you to look directly at it, right? It wants to fly under the radar. The ego is a mechanism that is constantly running subconsciously. It's flies under the radar. It's a machine. It just goes. That's why when we purposefully train ourselves to have new subconscious beliefs, the ego takes the new beliefs and just runs those. It's like a computer program. It's just running whatever you have installed at the time. A couple minutes of mindfulness every day, trying to notice the sensations in your body and find the exact location of those sensations will really help you become aware of the ego. Now let's talk about the thoughts that pop into mind throughout the day. We'll breeze through a couple of examples real quick. Let's say you're going to the drive-thru to order some coffee, and something happens and the line gets held up, and so it's taking longer than usual. And the thought comes to your mind, this effing sucks. Who said that? Really, who said that? Did you go out of your way to consciously have that thought and that judgment on the situation? Or did it just pop into your mind? It's from the ego. It popped into your mind. You didn't consciously choose to have a sucky experience. That is the ego judging a situation without your permission. All you have to do is realize that thought was not your choice. Say, ego, sort it, and then wait for your coffee without judgment. Here's another one. The ego loves to take you out of the present moment and keep you anchored to the past. You might be going through your day and all of a sudden remember something really embarrassing that happened, or remember something you felt guilty about. Oh, I remember that one time you screwed up and that was so embarrassing and that was so, oh my God, you should feel so guilty for that. That just pops out of nowhere. You did not consciously choose to recall that memory to suffer more. The ego did that automatically. Probably because it felt threatened, because you were putting your attention on something else and it wanted your attention back. Ego, sort it. Throw in the ego trash bin. All you have to do is notice that that was the ego. You don't have to yell at the ego. You don't have to do anything special. Just label it ego. Just like the ego pops in to label your experiences, you're going to Uno reverse and you're going to label the ego every time you notice it flare up and try and grab at your attention. Label it, sort it, move on. And here's how this really helps. I'm going to use the example of manifesting a specific person because that is something that can be so triggering to the ego. It triggers deep wounds of self-worth, self-love, the past, how you were treated in the past. Why isn't this person texting you or picking you? Why do you love them so much and they don't love you back? Like SP manifestation, that triggers the ego. So here's how this can help. When you do the manifestation, the creation is done. When you do the creation process, it is done. Whether that's visualization, a journaling method, the mirror method, doesn't matter. You only have to do it once and it's done. I know that because I've been doing it for years. You are going to learn that as you go through the process. That's why I say have a journal and start easy. Manifest a feather. Manifest a dollar on the sidewalk. Because as you begin to practice, you will learn too. It's done. When you manifest, it is done. The only thing left to do is to allow it to happen. So when you manifested your SP and you manifested that they either texted you or asked you out on a date or asked you to marry them, whatever it is, it's done. That will happen. If you put the intent and the energy into that happening, that will happen if you allow it to happen. We're going to notice two things that come up often when you're manifesting an SP that's from the ego. First thing, an emotion. When you are going about your day and you feel a pang of emotion that you are not with your SP, you might feel like crying. Your heart might hurt. You ache for them, okay? You're going to notice that emotion. You're going to label it ego, and then you're going to do the skill you just learned how to do, which is access your consciousness, your pinprick of light, and you are going to search for the exact place in your vessel that that emotion is located. That's how you feel your emotions. That's how you release them, and that's how you call your power back from the ego. You will emotionally regulate so fast when you start practicing that. The other thing you're going to do is watch your thoughts. If you're going through your day and you look at your phone and you think to yourself, it didn't work. They didn't text me. Cord lied. Manifestation doesn't work. Ego, sort it, baby. Manifestation does work. Are you going to allow your ego to hijack your process? Or are you going to take a little bit of time to practice identifying the ego so that you can notice it? All you have to do is notice. Ego thought, sort it. As you practice identifying ego and sorting it out, you will become so powerful at remaining in your state of conscious observation, even as you go throughout your day. It helps to practice this in meditation when you have some minutes to yourself of quiet. But as you practice and get skilled at this, you are going to become a more detached observer in your daily life, whether that be at work or the grocery store or the park or whatever, in traffic. And it will be easier to observe things without reacting emotionally, without putting more energy into it, without letting things ruin your whole day. You're going to be a powerhouse, a powerhouse. All you have to do is practice noticing the ego, and instead of letting it label things for you through thoughts and emotions, you're going to Uno reverse, label it what it is, ego, and let it be. Let it be. You are perfect right as you are in this moment. You don't need to change. You are as powerful as you need to be, as you ever will be. You only need to perceive that you are. Remember that you are. And I'm going to keep reminding you because I love it. I love what I do, and I love you just the way you are. You are perfect. All right, honey, leave a comment. Tell me what you want to talk about next, and I will see you next time. Toodles.